Good morning, everyone. So we've got the futures here pushed right up into resistance, right up into what could have set up as an M top. And I guess it did. It did trigger. Prices went down and held a gap filling right back up. Here we are right up into this area here. We've got a bottoming tail on the weekly. I've already mentioned the fact that momentum is slowing down. You've got this slowing momentum here. And the ideal scenario from the bullish case point of view would be some chopping around here and then, a move higher. However, I've seen these kind of patterns, as crazy as it might seem. It comes, whip down, whip up, and right back down again. So, this has kind of been a yo-yo market in different ways, here, right here. It's been erratic, quite often. So we just have to just see how this unfolds. That being said, it just makes sense that prices are going to stall here. Now, the caveat today is the Fed minutes at 2 o'clock. Is that going to be a catalyst to get prices moving one way or the other? It could just be or cause a giant whipsaw. So be aware of that. 2 o'clock Fed minutes. This market usually gets its gyrations. Overall, it really doesn't have a big effect on, the overall pattern from a bigger picture point of view. Just everything that's going on here. So we'll see how that plays out. Pretty much everything looks similar. In that up at resistance, weekly still in an uptrend. It's an obvious place for prices to stall. Prior price high. And we'll see if that happens. The Dow here up at resistance, that slowing momentum. That bar is the live bar as of today. Bonds here, excuse me, have backed off a little bit, but did clear this resistance area. So short term, it's a positive. The next resistance area is close. Typically leads to some kind of choppy action, and so when you see this kind of a pattern, which is kind of choppy, wild moves up and down, you go to a higher time frame. And what we see is a little break to the downside that didn't follow through. Prices took out the prior high, which is a break of the downtrend. And now this sideways price action, which way will it go? I mean, after all of that, the assumption is, prices can clear this area and start to move up. Well, if that happens, we'll see. Last week we had a wider range bar coming off, which says, hey, there were buyers down at that low here. It stalled. It stalled here right now. Little inside bar this week. We'll see where it ends up. But the pattern is one that suggests be a buyer above this high here. So that's the plan as far as that goes, to see if it can get above that, be a buyer. If it goes right back down to the lows, it just continues to be erratic. And oil, moving up here, hit the support, coming up into resistance, not quite there yet. Maybe it can turn its way. It's backed off here a bit pre-market. What do we got moving here? Pre-market. Tesla. Interesting here. It's, obviously it's had a great run from this low here. And, strong momentum move. Tiny pullback. Nice momentum move. Not quite as strong as the first, but that's okay. And now we've got this wide, whippy type of price action going on here, which... Now, look at this, and do I want to short this? I really don't want to short it, but I'm going to consider today, going to look at this with Dan to say, does a call credit spread make sense, or some option spread make sense here with this? And I've got a note here. I often do this with firms that give recommendations, especially a firm like Goldman. They put out a statement that they see Tesla coming down to $190. So that's what that little note is down there. That's Goldman's target of $190 over time. And So we've got an M top. We have not broken through the support. It had a weak day yesterday, so we'll see how that begins to shape up. Other than that, just looking at what's moving here, this Dicom is getting smashed down at 92 bucks. It could be a gap play, looking for a short after some stabilization. It might try and pop up a little bit, but these typically do go lower. And low here, further downside, but it's coming into 76, 79. Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on that one. I'm putting that one on the list for a possible gap play. And let's see what else here. Oh, NVIDIA up again. You know, the gap up got sold into yesterday. But here it is right back up again, up at 142. It's just a monster. And, you know, it's a go with. Apple doing nothing. And so on. Let's take a look at those retailers I mentioned yesterday. Nothing there. I was looking for possibly this thing was basing out that it could go up. It didn't happen. AEO, just kind of flattish, nothing. Just never got interesting. This one up and died. So retailers still getting crushed here. They're just not ready, even after being extended, but they just didn't give entries. So that's the beauty part of, you know, the method, is that they have to clear some form of resistance, even though it's climactic and it's had a reversal. Unless it clears it, we don't do anything. So I just set alerts and wait. Now, here's a very interesting piece of information here. Over the last few days, prices going up. And this just somewhat supports the bullish case here. Even though prices have pushed up, you've got this doji bar on the spiders up into resistance, which, you know, if it trades under the low, we see some pullback. However, we now have option traders anticipating that the market will go down. They're increasing their put buying. They could be right. I mean, I would say that that would be the right thing to do or expect, but the fact that they're doing it, which they often don't on a move up, may actually support it up here. So it's just something to keep in mind here. You see how the breadth moved up, you know, prices moved up, you know, the amount of stocks, you know, that this is calculating or moving up. Makes sense. But what we want to see for a signal is that the breadth gets overbought and option traders are bullish, anticipating that, you know, it's going to keep ripping up to new highs and so on. And when we get that alignment, we've got a signal. And then we just wait for a pattern up here to get short. And it doesn't mean it's, you know, it's going to crash or, you know, some big drop, but historically that means it's time that the market is going to have some type of a correction. And you know, it's worked out extremely well, you know, over the years that I've been posting these you know, market internals being lined up and being able to, you know, get in the areas of a market high and especially a market low. Lows are so much easier to pinpoint than the highs, but you know, we don't have that alignment yet, so we're waiting. And with these option traders anticipating that the market is going to break here, that might actually put a floor under it. So we shall see. Again, Fed at 2 o'clock. Be aware, if you're in positions, market usually does some gyrations. Have a great trading day.